Hey guys, what's up and welcome to a new Tesla update video. So today, as per usual, let's go over Tesla, let's go over the market and figure out what is happening and what we can expect moving forward. So today the video is coming out sooner because of course yesterday the market was closed for American Thanksgiving and today the market is about half of a day. So we're closing at 1 p.m. Eastern, right? Which is in just about 7 minutes. With that being said though, let's take a look at Tesla and let's see what essentially is happening, right? Well, what can we expect? Because next week is a big week. It's the final week of the month. And of course, it is the week of the Cybertruck delivery event, which is huge, which potentially is a catalyst for a run up even further. But with that being said, Tesla looking like it'll be closing the day up about 0.6%, which compared to the market is, a somewhat respectable outperformance. Now, the most important thing to note here is the fact that, so we came up, right? We had a bounce, right? We talked about how this is pretty much we're close to the 21 EMA / 230. That's like my most important level, right? As long as we're not closing below that, like I said, I'm happy, right? Obviously, if we do go below it, like I said, pretty much like what happened with this candle, I want to bounce up, relatively quickly, right? Exactly what happened with this candle. Went well below it, went all the way down to about 226 roughly. And then we had a strong bounce and actually still closed above. That is great. That's kind of what I'd want to see if we ever do go below 230. Yes, we have the 225, 226 support area. Yes, we have the 200-day moving average. But we do kind of break up this potential bullish pattern that we have setting up here if we go too far below 230 and especially below 226. So I'd want to see a bounce off of that if we ever do go down there, right? That's very, very important. Now, I forgot to mention, if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to hit that like button, not financial advice. And of course, my membership section on YouTube is live. The link is down below, $3 a month. But moving into it, so the next important thing is the fact that we did go up to about almost $240, right? We went to almost 239, right? But that's where some resistances, right? We're having a lot of issues here, right? The overall just low 240s areas of resistance. We've closed pretty much right inside of that area twice now, but both times the following day, we got smacked back down fairly aggressively as well, which isn't great. That's not what you want to be seeing as a bull, because again, we also talked about this potential double top pattern, but we also talked about how in order for this double top to potentially trigger, we'd want to start closing candles below, once again, that 230 level, let's say on the 65-minute chart, for instance, or like 1 hour, right? So far, we're not doing that, and so far, we are getting a bounce, but we're also rejecting where, there's obviously some resistance. So on top of that, we have the 50-day moving average as well rejecting us. But the most important thing here is the fact that we're pretty much, like I said, I'm sure some of you remember back when we just got into this area, I said how I wouldn't be surprised if for the next few days, we kind of ping pong between these two levels, the 21 EMA and the 50-day moving average-ish, right, / 240. And that's exactly what we've been doing for the past week roughly of trading. And that's exactly still what's happening, right? And until we convincingly close and hold, most importantly hold, because here you can see two closures above it, technically good, but we didn't hold. The next day we just collapsed back below. What I'd want to see is a close like this, but I want to see the next day, I'd want to see the candle come down, kind of like this one here, but stop somewhere around the 240 to the 50-day moving average-ish area, and then hold, and then I guess essentially bounce above that, right? I don't want to see collapse back below is what I'm trying to say. That's what shows the strength, and that's what, shows that this, quote unquote breakout actually has like substance behind it, and it isn't just essentially a fake out, which it has been 2 times in a row, right? And today, once again, went up to that general area and once again got smacked down by that 50-day moving average. So we're just kind of stuck in this limbo land until we really, really pick a direction. Now, personally, as long as we're above 230, I'm more bullish than bearish. I personally think there's a higher chance that we go up to about 250 than, let's say, 215, right? That's just kind of how I personally see it, right? I do think Tesla is in a more bullish than bearish structure, even like short-ish term, honestly. But with that being said, if we do start closing below 230, that changes. And I think, things will start getting a little bit more bearish pretty quickly. And I think we'll come back down to 220, 215, 210, maybe even slightly lower. And I do think that would happen almost for sure, right? So that's kind of the main thing. That's like kind of the general premise, right? It's a patient game. Sometimes, when you trade and when you're doing these kind of things, it's just a patience game, right? This is where selling options is great. When it rallies up here, you sell options and then it just comes back down and just goes sideways and whatnot, right? And that's kind of what I've been doing. I've just been selling options. And sometimes when it comes down to 230, I buy some shares, I trade them up, and I pretty much sell them back up somewhere around these 237-ish level. Exactly what I did, right? I bought shares on this candle right here, somewhere around 232, and I sold them today at 237. Just that simple, right? Quick little trade as we're waiting for a deciding moment, right? As we're waiting for the stock to really tell us where it wants to go next. Again, with the Cybertruck delivery event next week, that can be a catalyst. We can potentially run up into it, potentially even as high as, close to 250 roughly, right? That is a possibility. In my opinion, it's not even that much higher from here. Like, it sounds like it's a lot, but at 250 from here is only 6%, which for Tesla, just another day, right? Just another day. But if we do run up, I am going to be a little bit cautious there. That will make me optimistically cautious, mainly because I think it might be a sell the news event post the event as well. So, but that's kind of the main thing I'm looking at, right? Without making this video too complicated, let's take a look at options flow very quickly, and then we'll take a look at the weekly chart as well. But those are the main things I'm looking at. So we have a nice little flow over here of 2.5 million prints, 380 puts. We talked about this. I believe this is the same one we talked about on, what was it, Wednesday, if I'm not mistaken, right? 380 puts expiring December 15th of this year. So only about a month out, roughly, but 2.5 million print. That's a pretty decent print, right? That's definitely a whale category. Hardly any other options flow around there. You can see a lot of small ones here, but very little, tidbits here and there. But by far, this is the big daddy over here, right? This is the one you really want to pay attention to. And it's a safe one. It's exceptionally in the money. It is insanely in the money. But nonetheless, it is still a very large print of a put. Nonetheless, it is still technically a bearish position, even though it's a very safe bearish position. So that's kind of the main thing there. Taking a quick look at the weekly with the market closing in just a couple minutes here, right? The weekly candle is not too shabby, right? It's not the best, obviously, because, long wick at the top showing some selling pressure. But with that being said, we are closing above the 21 EMA. Now, again, the same as last week's, we barely closed above it today, or this week rather, we maintained above the 21 EMA, which is good. Still getting rejected by the 100-day moving average, unfortunately, but it's not too bad. On top of that, we're also closing at a higher level than last week's candle, which also isn't too bad, right? That's a nice little sign there. I wouldn't say it's the most bullish thing in the entire world, but it's definitely more bullish than bearish if you had to pick. Now, top of that, we also have the weekly, the MACD over here softening up, slowly rising back up, looking like maybe it wants to slowly think about flipping bullish, which is great to see. We still have the squeeze indicator, right? So far, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 red circles in a row, and it looks like the market's closing pretty much right now. And it looks like it will be closing this week with yet another red circle, which again is just another sign of just a lot of momentum building up. Once this thing does explode, once this actually picks a direction on the weekly, it should be a pretty sizable move in that respective direction. And I think the best way to look at it is going to be kind of what we talked about, right? I really think that the weekly won't show which direction it wants to go until it either breaks out somewhere above 260 roughly, maybe slightly higher, or it breaks well below like 205 to 200. I think that's when it might actually finally pick a direction, because don't forget, even after this massive move post earnings, right? Massive red candle, a pretty sizable move to the downside from peak to Tro, I believe it was about 20%, right? Which is a pretty sizable move. That's a lot, right? It still showed a red circle. It was like that wasn't even the move, which is kind of surprising. But it is what it is. So keep that in mind, right? I'm optimistically cautious regardless, because I don't think it's impossible for us to make our move down once again to the low 200s. Potentially, if we break 200, even to back to the 160 roughly. I don't think it's impossible. I think it's less likely, but absolutely not impossible, which is why I'm, kind of hedging myself around that specific situation. The last thing I want to look at very quickly is going to be the 65-minute chart, right? The 65-minute chart, let me take a quick look at this one more time. What did this just show me? That's not ideal. So a lot of red circles here, and then after that we have a green circle showing that the pressure, it looks like it wants to start releasing with some little I don't know what color, like gold, I guess, colors at the bottom. Pretty much the bar going down, which indicates that potentially this little pressure being built up on the 65-minute chart might play out to the downside. So not ideal, but again, it's a 65-minute chart, so take it with a grain of salt. It's not like a massive move. It's just probably a move back down to like 320 or 230 roughly. But nonetheless, the weekly chart, the 65-minute chart, isn't showing too much information, at least in my opinion. The only thing that it's really showing me right now is that potential bullish divergence, or hidden bullish divergence, where essentially, as the RSI is making lower lows, the stock itself is not making lower lows. And ideally, it's making higher lows, but in this case, it's roughly making the same lows, which is why it's a medium strength hidden bullish divergence, right? Because a stronger bullish divergence would be the stock's making higher lows, but the RSI is making lower lows. That's a strong hidden bullish divergence. In this case, since we're making the same lows, but the RSI is making lower lows, it's a medium term. It's a medium strength hidden bullish divergence. But nonetheless, that's what we talked about on Wednesday. And what do we have today? We have a nice little rally back up to almost 240. So not a bad sign whatsoever, but it's still technically in place. So we'll see how it actually plays out. But other than that, the 65-minute chart is not giving me too much information. No, honestly, so it's kind of useless, honestly. But I think the main thing we're looking at and waiting for really is just to see what happens here, right? We have this little uptrend that we're in with this blue line. We have the 21 EMA, 50-day moving average with 230 and 240 resistance and support, or support and resistance. So let's see how that plays out. Let's see what happens with that. And I think for now, patience is a virtue. And I think waiting for real nice, strong, solid confirmation below or above one of these levels is the way to go. Personally, just my opinion. But that's all I got for this video. So thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed, don't forget to hit that like button as it does help a lot. And of course, I will see you as usual on Monday. Peace.